All hidden figures, that's what those women were called as well. Apparently, I did not know any of the history of this at the time, and I was sort of baffled by the whole idea of Computress itself. But what the heck, it was a job. But the term goes back at least into World War II, and maybe even further back than that, of using women who have mathematical ability to do calculations. A lot of code breaking was done by women, for example. That too is an area where computeresses were used. Anyway, I was hired as a computress, and nobody at that time had women's studies programs. I knew nothing about sex discrimination. I knew nothing about the law. I knew nothing about much of anything. But I had a quick learning experience on the job. So, and then this thing about wage hour laws. We had wage hour laws in all the states. They varied a little bit. They were state laws. They varied a little bit here and there. But in Texas, the law was called a 954 law. And that referred to the hours. If you were a woman who was an hourly worker, they would say you weren't supposed to work. I would say you weren't supposed to get paid, okay? More than 9 hours a day, or a total of 54 hours a week. Now you understand, a working woman could have 3 jobs and work a lot more hours than 9 a day, and many women did. Work a lot more hours than 54 hours a week. But if you, with regard to a single employer, you couldn't get paid for more than 9 hours a day, 54 hours a week. We worked Saturdays, we worked Sundays, we worked 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. We just worked any old time, okay? That's what the team did. And then I discover these other people all get paid. And I don't. They would tell me, it's not, they would tell me, my supervisor would tell me, Poppy, you need to go home because we can't pay you past the way the law works. That's how I discovered about this law. And 60 or 70 hours a week because I'm a woman. That's the only reason. I would stay anyway, because one of the things that occurred to me pretty early on being out there, I would say within the first 3 months I was out there, it dawned on me, looking around at these guys I was working with, who were making a lot more money than I was. They were non-hourly workers, but they were called members of the technical staff. And looking around the room and dealing with those guys, it occurred to me one day, I'm as smart as these guys are, but they're making a lot more money than I am. And I decided I wanted to be a member of the technical staff and make the kind of money those guys were making, because I was working as hard as they were and I was as smart as they were. So why not? And so in thinking about this in this wage hour law, I'm going to work the way the guys work on this team. And if there's anything that I've ever done that was brilliant, that was it. Because I understood that the real horror of that wage hour law wasn't not getting the overtime. That's just an immediate negative consequence. The real terror of it for women, in terms of what it did, was that it keeps you from getting promoted. If a crunch comes, you have to leave. They're always going to want the guy. If a promotion comes up, they're always going to want the guy, because they can count on him to be there if they need somebody to work 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week or 7 days a week or whatever. That was the real horror of that wage hour law. And my most brilliant thing was to say, so you don't pay me. I'm here, I'm working the same way the guys on the team are working. And the difference that made was that the guys on the team thought I was a member of the team. I wasn't somebody who left at 6 o'clock. And they became advocates for me to be promoted. They were horrified when they found out I was not being paid fairly. And in fact, I mean, that's really part of how it was that I got promoted and made a member of the technical staff. But that journey in and of itself, you see, brought up another clue about how sex discrimination works. One of the women here at my table was talking about the same thing, and still, I mean, going on now, currently. This is still happening. The wage hour laws have been changed, okay? But my operations manager told me 6 months after I'd been there, we want to promote you to be a member of the technical staff. My crazy idea was working, right? 6 months in, I had managed to do this. He said, you know, at your 1 year anniversary. Okay, I'm patient. 1 year comes, and I'm not getting my promotion, and I'm not understanding what's going on. Because Charlie was a straight shooter. If he said he was going to do it, he was going to do it. That was our operations manager. And then a couple of months go by, and finally he calls me in and tells me about my promotion. And I discover a whole new thing. The whole upper structure of the corporation to get me promoted, because the pay differential was so great between where I was and where I should be. And even then, he said, I gave up, okay? I couldn't get you where you were supposed to be. I fought for 2-3 months, okay? And, you know, all I was able to get was I was finally able to get you into the bottom of that pay bracket. He thinks I should be higher in the pay bracket, but I was getting a 60% raise, okay? They had no mechanism to deal with past discrimination. And one of the women over here was talking about the same exact thing, okay? That is still an ongoing problem. That if you are underpaid to start with, most companies today still have no mechanism really to get you there, okay? And that's one of the reasons why women, y'all going out and talking to women, young women especially, need to emphasize to them that they need to really work hard at getting paid what they're supposed to be paid at the beginning. I've heard women say, oh no, you know, I don't want to make an issue of that, I just want to get in the door. No, you need to get paid right from day one, because you will suffer from it the rest of your working career. You will never catch up. I had a very progressive boss, the fact that they promoted me at all. If I had worked at NASA, none of this would have happened. I was working for a very progressive company, a contractor. I had to give up, okay? He said it would have been easier to have fired you and rehired you. He said, I could have done that, you know? I could have hired you in wherever. I just could not promote you and give you that kind of raise. So he said, so I'm going to give you the max increase that we can give every review period and give you as many review periods as I can give, okay? So I had someone who was fighting for me. Most women do not, and that's why I was extremely lucky. When I went over to the control center, I was not expecting ever to work in the control center. It was because they accelerated the launch of Apollo 8. They needed the people that developed the Return to Earth program to come over and help the flight controllers understand what this data was that they were getting. Because coming back to the Earth from Earth orbit is not at all like coming back to the Earth from a lunar orbit. It's a very different kind of thing. And over there, I got to have the experience of being the only woman in the room. I was pretty used to that by then, okay? I was the only woman who was a member of the technical staff at TRW for several years. They did eventually, there were some more eventually hired. About, look at channel whatever, 54, whatever. Look at channel whatever, because we have all these screens and you can call up channels and you can call up audio, different things. And I would occasionally hear somebody comment about that channel. And finally one day I went, I wonder what's on channel 54. So I turned it on and it was me. Just me. Because they have closed circuit cameras in all those rooms. It was just me. I think today that would be called workplace hostile